Talks with Papa.
Hi, Papa.
Hi, Sandra.
Today, I want us to talk about trauma. In this day and age, we're walking trauma experiences, and I truly believe that so many people have experienced trauma in their life, but a lot of us have a hard time discussing it. So, I wanted to know if you can share your most traumatic and defining experience and how that shaped the person that you are today.
Whew, that's heavy. Well, first of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Papa Omisore. I'm a fashion designer, creative director, image consultant, husband, father. Um, yeah, I'm all but one. But yes, let's talk about trauma. I think I've had two defining traumatic experiences. I think the first one was me growing up without a father. And I think the second one, and it's not even in any order really, the second yet most defining was rather being molested when I was about 8 or 9 by an older family member, male member. And I think that really affected me in a lot of ways, even though at the time I didn't know the impact, but it really did affect me. So again, for those who grew up in Nigeria, anyone who's older than you is kind of seen as a demigod. Whatever they say or do is right. Like you're never wrong or rather, you're never right when it comes to you and an older person growing up African. Like an elder is always right. So I guess that even gives them more right to take advantage of you and get away with it, because also you already fear them just because they're older than you. So when somebody molests you and tells you not to tell anyone, because you will die or they will hurt you or whatever, that really puts a lot of fear in you. And I remember the first encounter, really, I don't think I went to bed because I didn't know, what to make with that encounter. Like I didn't understand what just happened to me, you know. But then there was also pleasure, even though I didn't really understand what that really was. There was fear, there was anxiety, there was pleasure, all in one experience. And that really, really, really messed me up.
Did you cry?
Not initially, not when I didn't, again, because I didn't understand what had just happened. I didn't understand that I was just violated. It took me years to fully understand, okay, this is what that experience was, and this is what he had done to you. And then I think, again, maybe in the same year or the year after, I was also molested by another nanny that we had, a female nanny. Those two experiences caused me a lot of sexual confusion, because you don't really know what to identify as. You don't really know what and this is such a sensitive topic because I know most men don't want to talk about this, or they don't want to be seen a certain way or be perceived a certain way because, again, society says you have to be this or that. And I'm not really here to say what anyone should be. I'm only talking about my own experiences and how it has shaped me. Another thing I want to also say is when you're molested, you feel victimized. You become a victim, and I would make rational sense for my dad. Like when I would go to my dad's office and my dad would be mean to me or even ask me to leave his office growing up, I would say to myself, oh, maybe because I was molested, maybe because this person did this to me, and maybe he knows, and maybe that's why he's treating me like this, or maybe that's why I'm, I would make all these excuses. Maybe that's why I'm less than, or maybe that's why I'm this. Even though I never, I don't know specifically if I exhibited those emotions growing up, but I was dealing with it internally. Like I was having a lot of esteem issues growing up. The only thing that I would say really helped me was my mother, because my mother was extremely strong, and my mom would literally tell me how to walk or how to like comport myself or how to behave, and that really helped my esteem.
Like how to walk with your head high.
Yes,
regardless.
like right, regardless. Like, you know, I had an experience where, and I digress now, but I remember there was a time that I went to a birthday party and I had won a cousin's school shoe as my party shoe to that event. I was about maybe 6 or 7. I don't remember how old I was. And I remember getting to the party and everyone was laughing at me, because they remembered that was my cousin's shoe, because he invited me to the party. And his friends were laughing at me and saying, "Oh my goodness, that's X and X, you know, shoe and blah, blah, blah." And that made me feel really uncomfortable. And I remember running to the bathroom, and I was there literally till we're about to leave, and my mom came to pick us up. And I guess they told her that I was in the bathroom, and she came to me and said, the party was literally about to be over. And she came to me and said, "What's wrong with me?" And I was crying out. They were laughing at me that I'm wearing, you know, my cousin's shoes. And she said, "You know what you're going to do? You're going to go back there. I'm going to go wait in the car for you. You're going to win every present. If you don't win any presents, we're not going home." And I was like, I saw that she was dead serious. And I literally went back into the party and I won every competition, from dance to, the first person to go and bring me this uncle's thing, the first person to go and bring me auntie's pair of that. Like, I literally remember winning every present, almost like I was the celebrant. And till today, I'm 32, and I remember what that experience did in my life. So I really, really owe my mother a lot, you know, for shaping my personality and helping me overcome a lot of this. But yes, being molested also made me crave that male figure even more in my life. And I don't even know if this makes sense, but I would look for my molester in men, and even in women. I was always looking to be nurtured. I was always looking to be loved. I was always looking, I don't know what I was looking for really, but I just know that I lacked something.
Coupled with the fact that your father wasn't in.
Right, and it was just very hard to navigate. And I knew that my mom obviously wouldn't, you know, because I didn't really blame anyone. You know, when I came to understand what had happened, I didn't blame anyone, because it's really no one's fault. You know, not that it's meant to happen, but it just happens to the best of us. A lot of people actually suffer molestation knowingly and unknowingly, or don't even know what to make of that encounter, or don't even know what happens to them, you know, or happened to them, you know. But for me, I think in hindsight, it made me have a better sense of myself and who I want to be and how I want to channel that fear. Because I say fear because even when I was having my first child, before we knew the sex, I didn't want to have a boy, because I didn't think I knew what it was like to be a role model, or if, you know, that figure that another boy wants to emulate or become, you know, because I never had that. So I didn't think I was anybody's model. You know, it was safer for me to go to the saloon with a girl child, because that was what I was almost used to. My mom and my sister used to do that, you know. So it made me more comfortable to do that. But again, God would always give you something that fear you, or, you know, challenge you, so that you can know how better you are. You know, lo and behold, my first son was a boy, and instantly my wife told me that I think you'd be a spectacular father regardless, because one thing that you're able to give is love. And if you're able to love, you can do and accomplish a lot of things. You know, it has really been very trying. And another thing that has also helped me is also having a partner that I can discuss my vulnerability or my fears or my worries to. I think having that luxury has helped me unburden a lot of the things that I've dealt with growing up, because for most men, growing up African or growing up Black or growing up Nigerian specifically is not easy, because you're already born with an expectation, you know, and because of this expectation, you have to appear stronger than you are. You can't be weak. You cannot express. You cannot in any way or form show weakness. You have to be strong, because your family is going to be, you're going to be responsible for your family. So just already carrying that weight, I feel doesn't allow a lot of men be vulnerable. You know, they carry this trauma that, you know, has been put on them either by their parents or by their family or just society, and it then starts to affect their everyday lives. So I think one way to coping or to dealing with trauma or, you know, molestation or anything is the ability to be vulnerable. I think that's very helpful to cope.
Can you explain what you mean by being vulnerable? And then can you also elaborate on what effect it has on you if you're not vulnerable?
I think vulnerability is the ability to accept. It's a form of acceptance. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable when you've been molested, or even in general, but let's just talk about molestation, right? Now you are able to come to terms with what has happened to you. So I think it's very important that you allow that happen. Like, okay, accept that this happened to you, and once you can accept that, you can then learn to cope with it. And there's different forms of coping. Like, you can talk about it, you know, you can write about it, you can even sometimes go and meet the molester and, you know, let them know what they did to you. And sometimes not necessarily like closure or like you know, it's just a way of kind of coming to terms with it. Sometimes you find, like, you know, like I had to talk to the person that molested me, and I found that really helped me. Him admitting that yes, that happened, and, you know, he's sorry. You know, granted, you can't take that back, but just knowing that kind of does a lot for you. And I think that's also why I'm able to talk about it even more, because I kind of, you know, dealt with it. I really dealt with it. I discussed, I talked about it to whoever cared to listen. Even though I didn't do all of this initially, but I'm saying when I started to cope with it and deal with it, I was talking about it and, you know, coming to terms with it daily. And if you don't do these things, I feel like you would always carry that weight. You would continue to give your molester power over you, because I realized that when you're being molested, it's almost as though that person has power over you. Like, they have some sort of control, especially at a very early age, you know. So not doing that is very harmful to you and, you know, to your well-being, because every single thing that happens in your life, you'd start to, you know, you deal with it most likely wrongly because you haven't coped with your own, you know, burden or baggage or problem, you know. So it's very, very important to be vulnerable. Allow yourself accept that happened to you, and find a way to cope with it. And I just listed some of the tools: talking about it, writing about it, you know, just being vocal about it. Now, I mean, not necessarily have to be angry, you know, because once you come to terms with something, there's really no room for anger, because you can't bring back or like erase or like, you know, write off what happened to you. So yes, I wasn't angry with myself. I wasn't angry with the person, really, you know. And I think another thing is, because I had a mother who was really, really all loving. Like, my mom was the sort of person who, excuse me, would let's say I called somebody and they didn't pick up, and I say, oh mom, I've been calling this person, they didn't pick up. My mom wouldn't say, oh well, don't call them back, or like, you know, she would always like say, oh, maybe they're busy, or like, you know, she'll always look for all the excuses for people she didn't even know, you know. So that
Basically
really,
seeing the positive
in things. And I think that's really beautiful to see. So when something as traumatic as that happens to you, you can still find the positive. Like, okay, yes, this has happened to me. How can I use it to better other people's life? How do I create awareness? How do I see the good in this? Because yes, it's a really, really bad thing to happen, but you can use it. You can channel that negativity into positivity.
Is that what you're doing with Papa with Talks?
I think that's what I'm trying to achieve. Just to talk about things that people usually wouldn't talk about, especially men, black men, Nigerian men, African men, fathers. And I know that even you, my wife, and also my producer, I know that you must agree with me when I say that I'm not just saying vulnerability. I literally live it, and I know that you agree that has helped our relationship in several ways because you're able to cope with certain issues in your life. But yes, that's what I'm trying to achieve with this channel. I know that I can't discuss everything at length in one episode, so that's why I would ask that you guys stay tuned to this channel. There's going to be more in-depth conversations about things that really matter to me and matter in our society. Like, this is a channel that wants to discuss things that potentially
Trauma.
can change lives, like trauma, like
healing.
Right, healing, fatherhood, culture, tradition, religion. These things that people kind of like use and sometimes have negative effects on their lives. Just talk about things, basically. This is that channel, and that's what I'm hoping to do with people who obviously care to listen. So please stay tuned.